Did you know that the time on your watch right now, this very second, wasn't always standard? I mean, who decided that 8:00 a.m. is 8:000 a.m. for everyone?
It sounds like a strange question, but there's a specific answer, a specific date. And our sources tonight, they frame it less like a historical footnote and more like a crime scene.
The International Meridian Conference,
Yeah.
October 13, 1884.
Exactly. Before that day, time was, local, it was organic. Your town's noon was when the sun was highest in the sky. Simple as that.
So my noon could be 5 minutes different from the town over.
Totally. And that was fine. But then came the Industrial Revolution and, well, the trains.
The trains, they needed a schedule.
They needed a schedule, badly, because trains were crashing, supply chains were a mess. You couldn't run a factory and tell workers to show up at sunup. You needed 8:00 a.m. sharp.
So delegates from 25 nations get together in Washington, D.C., and they create Greenwich Mean Time, GMT.
And in doing that, they didn't just synchronize clocks. They took this fluid lived experience and put it in a box. They canned it.
They turned it into a commodity, something you can divide, export, sell.
And that's when time became money. That is the birth of what we're calling the tyrant, Kronos, linear, oppressive, anxiety-inducing time.
And our mission then is to find the escape route, the key to what the sources call Kairos.
Vertical time, the eternal now flow.
Okay, so let's start with the resistance. It didn't begin with protesters, but with a philosopher who was basically a rock star, Henri Bergson.
It's hard to overstate his fame. We're talking 1913. Police were needed for his lectures. He apparently caused the first major traffic jam on Broadway when he visited New York.
Just to hear a guy talk about metaphysics, why?
Because he gave a name to the prison everyone was feeling. He stood up and said, "The clock lies. You are free."
And his big argument was, what?
Deceptively simple. He said the modern world made a fatal error. We confuse time with space.
What do you mean?
Think about a timeline. You draw a line, you put past here, future there. That's not time. That's a line. It's a measurement of space. You've turned life, which is movement, into something static and dead.
Okay, so what is real time according to him?
He called it la durée réelle, real duration. And his best analogy is a melody.
A melody,
Yeah. If you just analyze it note by note, now there's a C, now it's over, now there's a D, you've killed the music.
You've just got a series of dead data points.
Exactly. But when you actually listen, the C note doesn't just disappear, it resonates. It bleeds into the D, it colors it. The whole past of the melody is pushing the present forward in one indivisible flow.
And our consciousness is like that melody.
That's it. And that constant anxiety, that feeling of, I don't have time, that's the pain of trying to live your fluid musical life by the rules of a clock that just wants to chop it into seconds.
Okay, but don't we need the clock? I mean, how do you run a hospital or an airport?
Of course. The clock's a tool, a useful one. The problem isn't the tool, it's when we internalize its logic. When we let Kronos dictate our inner reality.
When the tool becomes the master.
And that internal fight takes us to another figure in Paris, Marcel Proust, who, he took this to a whole other level.
This is the famous cork-lined room.
Right. In 1910, he makes this almost military decision. He's sick, he's overwhelmed by the noise of the city, so he soundproofs his room at 102 Boulevard Haussmann with cork. He wanted to plug the noise of history.
So his theory was, to find your soul's original software, you have to shut down all the social hardware first.
You have to create a vacuum, and in that vacuum, the glitch happens.
The Madeleine.
The Madeleine. And we have to read this like a forensic report, not just a nice story. He dips the cake in the tea, and he says this exquisite pleasure invades him. And then he writes the key line, "I ceased to feel mediocre, contingent mortal."
Cease to feel mortal. That's not just a happy memory.
No, that's what he calls tactical immortality. He makes this brilliant distinction between two kinds of memory. There's voluntary memory. That's the Kronos archive, What did I do yesterday? It's cold data.
Just pulling a file.
But then there's involuntary memory. And that is time travel. The taste didn't make him remember his childhood. It teleported him there. He was back in Cambrai. He could smell it, feel it.
He realized the past isn't behind us on some timeline.
It's not. It's folded up inside us. It's encrypted in smells and tastes, waiting for the password. We're not linear. We're spherical. Everything is happening at once. But Kronos, our anxiety, keeps our attention locked in a straight line.
Which implies that this whole structure, linear time, might not just be a social construct. It might be a flaw in reality itself.
Now you're getting to the really deep stuff. This takes us way back to the 16th century Kabbalists, to a man named Isaac Luria, the Ari,
And he had a cosmological theory for all of this, for our anxiety.
a radical one. He looked at the chaos and suffering in the world and said, the universe isn't a perfect, slow evolution. The universe is an accident.
An accident.
A catastrophe. It starts with what's called the zimtzum, the contraction. In the beginning, God was everything, everywhere. So for anything else to exist, God had to withdraw, to pull back and create an empty space.
So we exist in a void, essentially.
We exist because of a void. But then, when the divine light rushed back in to fill that void, the containers, the vessels for that light, couldn't handle the intensity, and they shattered.
The breaking of the vessels. Shivarat Hakalim.
And divine sparks were scattered everywhere. And here's the kicker. Kronos, linear time, is nothing more than the measurement of the distance between those broken fragments.
Wow, so that feeling of being incomplete, of running out of time.
It's the cellular memory of that explosion. We're living in the rubble zone.
This is mind-blowing, but it sounds like mysticism. Where's the proof?
Well, this is where it gets really wild. For centuries, science mocked this idea of an instant catastrophe. They preferred the slow, orderly Big Bang.
And now?
And now we have the James Webb Space Telescope.
Right.
It's looking back to the dawn of time, and it's finding huge, fully formed galaxies just 300 million years after the event. They're too big, too mature, they shouldn't be there. Physicists are calling it a cosmological crisis.
But from Luria's perspective,
It's not a crisis at all. The JWST is just seeing the debris field, the immediate fully formed rubble from the Shivarat Hakalim.
so modern astronomy is accidentally validating 16th century mysticism.
It's pointing to a forgotten higher physics. A physics another mystic tried to hack centuries earlier, a man named Abraham Abulafia,
He wanted to break the processor, right? The logical mind.
the Kronos computer in our heads. He went into total isolation on the island of Comino and developed a technology he called Seruf, the science of letter combination.
Which involve chanting.
A kind of supercharged chanting. He would write and vocalize random, meaningless combinations of Hebrew letters faster and faster while doing specific head movements.
Why? What's the point of that?
To overload the system. Language is Kronos' greatest weapon. It forces logic, sequence. By flooding the brain's verbal processor with nonsense, he forced a system crash. The self collapses.
And when the verbal noise stops?
Linear time disappears. You step out of the clock's prison.
So we have the philosophical escape, the cosmological one, the neurological one. But the sources say there's a biological lock, too.
Yes. This is where it gets very personal. Think about the old myths, like the Sumerian king list. You see kings ruling for 28,000 years.
Which we just dismiss as fantasy.
But what if it's not? What if it's a forensic record of a biological downgrade?
It's a downgrade.
The molecular smoking gun is an enzyme called telomerase. We all have the gene for it. It's basically an immortality enzyme that could rebuild the ends of our chromosomes forever.
But it doesn't.
It's been switched off, epigenetically silenced in most of our cells. We have the blueprint for a vastly longer life, but the factory has been shut down.
And why would that be?
Think about it. A being that lives for thousands of years is ungovernable. They have no fear of death. But a being capped at 80 years, they live in chronic low-grade anxiety,
Fear of running out of time.
which makes them vulnerable to the ultimate control system.
Yeah.
Debt. Debt is literally selling your future time. You trade your present, your Kairos, for a promise of security because you're terrified of dying.
So how do we fight back? How do we flip that switch back on?
And this is the beautiful convergence. The science is catching up. Work by people like Elizabeth Blackburn, the Blackburn effect, has shown that things like deep meditation, gratitude, living in the present moment,
Living in Kairos.
they actively lengthen your telomeres. Your presence, your calm, literally begins to repair the genetic damage.
Okay, so bringing this all home, the sources point to major volatility coming up, maybe around 2025, 2026, a crisis of public confidence. If time is collapsing, what's the strategy?
The strategy is the Kairos protocol. Kairos is a Greek term. It means the one who withholds or restrains.
Restrains what?
Chaos. When everyone else is panicking, when the system is resetting and fear is everywhere, your job is not to join the madness. Your job is to be the pillar, to be the calm container for everyone around you.
So when everyone is screaming, you're the one quietly making coffee.
You're the one who smiles and remembers that this too shall pass. Your calm, rooted in Kairos, becomes a shield against the collective hysteria.
We've gone from a conference in 1884 to the very fabric of our DNA. The fight is the same. The soul, which is musical and fluid, is being chopped up by the guillotine of the clock.
But the escape hatch is always right here, in the now.
Because, as the text says, the present is the only thing that actually exists. It's not a point on a line. It's flow.
And you are not a static human being. You are a human becoming. You're a process. The present is this infinite point where the entire past that made you crashes into the future that you are creating.
So the final message is to find your own cave of Camino, a moment of silence, a piece of art, even just one conscious breath.
Turn off the verbal processor. Stop counting the seconds. Just for a moment. Listen to the music.